This is Mr. Beak. His lifelong dream is to support terrorist organizations, weaponize homeless people, and spread generosity to everyone in Kenshi. But currently, he does not have the funds to make his ambitions into reality. So Mr. Beak begins exploring the world in search of ways to make money. What he finds is that Vane, a place that held the most dangerous creatures in Kenshi, Beak things, was the only way he was able to make any spare change, through looting their bodies and selling their hide. At least aside from low-paying labor that couldn't even afford him a nice rest at the hub. Mr. Beak eventually managed to gather 10,000 cold hard cash that allowed him to hire a sheikh named Kang. Kang was going to assist him on building an empire that could fund his illusions of becoming the holy savior of Kenshi. Hiring a few more bodyguards made it a lot easier to traverse through Vane. Although looting and selling the hide of dangerous exotic creatures was profitable, it was limiting due to there only being a limited amount of beak things roaming Vane, and how dangerous it was to even kite one towards the hivers. So Mr. Beak tried his hand at selling illegal goods, the ones that could take anyone to Jesus Christ. When he arrived at the hub, he discovered it only sold for a measly 100 cats. There was no markup for it. The only place that did have a markup for these substances was these ninja guards, who required a bribe to even associate with. So Mr. Beak tried Squin, a place that sheiks like to hang out at. He played it smart and dropped his bag before the dude could check him. But despite all that effort, he just found that the sheiks were happy, civilized people who had their lives together, so they were not interested in substances. So to get his money back, Mr. Beak sold his substances and hired who he could. Over the course of several days, Mr. Beak stayed broke and depressed, barely being able to feed his own tummy. But he suddenly had the bright idea of kidnapping people and forcing them into hard labor. So he spent what he could on mercenaries and had them assault whoever was at the hub. We then imprisoned them in cages and recruited them before forcing them to work in conditions OSHA would look a company over. Kang currently had the best job out of everyone. He was the main researcher, and oh boy did he require a lot of expensive books. So these slaves better work hard to keep up with the demand, or else Mr. Beak isn't going to be too happy. We eventually came to the realization that the hub wasn't a good place to expand our business. The max we could make was about 1,000 cats per day from mining iron ore, which was barely enough to feed all 5 of our members. So Mr. Beak scouted and found the most perfect place to place a slave camp with no human rights possible. Before long, we recruited more folks and forced our new members to channel all their life force into turning big rocks into little rocks. I do love efficient labor, minus the cost. I love it so much, we called up the recruitment guild and paid them a very small sum to send us the homeless people they got off the streets. Now 9 more slaves were added to our team. But you might have noticed Mr. Beak only has 4,000 cats. There's no way he could afford to feed all these hard-working employees of his. You're right. We continuously expanded and researched more things. The only thing that mattered was to ensure all of Kenshi's residents were able to enjoy a luxury that only the elites were able to. Mr. Beak filled up 3 large bags with iron, walked his 4,000 kg self to the nearest shop, forced the vendor there to buy all of his scraps, and returned home with a whopping 50,000 money! Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but this was after working our employees almost to death. If this kept going, Mr. Beak's dream of giving out millions to random folks on the streets would not come to fruition, so the expansion grew more aggressive. More machines, more buildings, more wind generators, more everything. Money was now flowing in like crazy, but it still wasn't enough to satiate our master, Mr. Beak. He gathered any homeless man off the streets, paid them 3 cats a year, and force-fed them rice and dried turkey. Business was now booming. We had giant walls, large buildings, more slaves, more industrial machines. Who said unethical labor doesn't pay off? Mr. Beak surely didn't. We had enough money to create a sweatshop that had even more heinous work environments than the original one. I called it the Beating Station. The place where all men come to beat, and whoever beats the least doesn't get to eat at the end of the day. This saying calls our sweatshop workers to work like they had a gun pointed to their heads. But a wise man once said, "He who has valuables gets robbed and stripped." A few deranged rich folks smelled the money in the air and came to our front gates and began saying, "Whatever the hell this is," and they wouldn't stop unless we let them enter. Mr. Beak was scared for his life, cause the stats on whoever these guys were astonishing. So realizing he had to protect his profitable and humane business from these deranged rich folks, Mr. Beak ordered the command to build powerful turrets and eventually started killing them off. He imprisoned whoever was still alive and stripped them of their powerful gear. The gear was so nice, he couldn't help but try them on permanently. They also had an insanely valuable bag that was all for show, cause there was not one vendor in the entirety of Kenshi that has or is willing to buy this Gucci Dior handbag. Now, even after countless days of grinding and improving, you thought I was gonna say work environment, didn't you? Nah, we added even more machinery and battery banks. Now even blackouts couldn't affect us. I let our folks grind while Mr. Beak took a break to admire his creation. But this caused him to miss prayer day, which he had been keeping tabs on so not to anger the wrath of the holy nation. But now he had no choice but to prepare for war. Eventually, when they did attack, we were completely ready. We had tech hunters hired to defend our base, and our slaves? Valued members of our team to defend our base with their lives. Mr. Beak wasn't a coward either, so he fell defending the base. Now, you might be thinking, I'm gonna leave these valued employees to die. But no! I had actually prepared a hospital specifically for this, cause you know what's worse than losing profit? Losing the thing that was the direct cause for that profit. So we healed and patched everyone up. We also imprisoned some Holy Nation attackers and forced them onto our side to defend our paradise. And we can now relax a bit. After a while, we were able to gather a whopping 11 million cats. Mr. Beak was now ready to spread his kindness through this world. First, he was going to arm the homeless people in Kenshi with legendary weapons and mastercraft armor, so they could become an absolute threat to anyone who might encounter them. Lucky enough, a few of them snuck into our base and were kindly escorted to their 5-star hotel rooms. Mr. Beak and his guards had returned from visiting Armor King and were about to kick them out in what's equivalent to giving a homeless group of people a rocket launcher, Kevlar armor, and $40,000 night vision goggles. And of course, we made sure to keep these boys fed. Good luck, world. There's a new boss in town. It was now time to have the Holy Nation, Shed Kingdom, converge. What better way than to kidnap a couple of them, drop them off straight into a country that hates them most. Things didn't go as expected though. Instead of talking it out, the Sheks imprisoned them. So Mr. Beak, being the good gentleman he is, broke them out of jail so they could run to the Sheks and hug it out. Wow, amazing! Now, the next thing was to give a random homeless man $500,000 worth of valuable goods, weighing over 10,000 kgs. We found a lucky winner at the hub who was trying their very best to hide from us. But they were kidnapped from their family and brought to one of the most dangerous places in Kenshi, Vane. Once they woke up, they discovered not only were they in an unfamiliar, hostile place, but they also had 10,000 kgs worth of stuff chained to their very bones. So they better not hope no bandit or hungry animals catches them as they're walking back slowly at 1 mile per hour. Now it was time to gift a peaceful family a pet beak thing. Mr. Beak and his crew almost died while procuring some, but that only shows how generous he is, right? Eventually, we found some lucky contestants. Mr. Beak and his boys waited till morning before placing down a beak thing smack dab in their humble village. Yes, the beak thing does not care. Eh? The beak thing doesn't want to play. That's alright. Maybe that one malfunctioned. So we placed down a second one, who this time, the villagers loved. Look how happy they are. Next, we captured a few dust bandits, carried them hundreds of miles across Kenshi, all the way down to the place you least want to be, and handed them off to the skin bandits who instantly began peeling off their skins. Yeah! The skin bandits love our generosity. They loved it so much, they decided to assault us and leave us crippled. Mr. Beak and his crew then revisited the place where he and his mates had kidnapped the Holy Nation soldiers from. Why? Well, it was to do them a favor by buying all of their property that was for sale. Although this had unforeseen consequences, like them having nowhere else to stay. The homeless crisis grew from this, and now there was a gigantic line moving out of the city towards wherever. So what do you guys think? Did Mr. Beak break Kenshi through generosity, or did he actually fix it? Hey, good dog, hey.